Hey guys and welcome. 2025 is a new year and we've got new resolutions, new start to our reading, and we're really excited to get started and dive into some of these really great books. But this year I'm thinking I'll try a bit more for TBR since I'm a bit of a mood reader really and wherever I feel like at the minute. So I've chosen 25 for a nice selection of mainly books I own since my TBR is sort of a mountain. Well, I have a book called which I love, but then I've got all these great books to read and we're going to focus on some of them now. I've got a lot of selection, so it should keep me throughout the year. But I have chosen one or two that are new books, but they are in a series. They're both third books in two different series. Different genre, very different books there too. So we'll have a nice little selection here now. So we're prioritising my physical TBR. I'm trying to read more of the books I own. Gonna soft book buying ban. I'm convincing myself, so it makes it easier. At least that's the theory. We'll see how that goes. We'll start with The Maiden by Kate Foster, which is a historical bit of murder mystery tale. Edinburgh, October 1679. Lady Christian is arrested and charged with the murder of her lover, James Forrester. News of her imprisonment and subsequent trial is splashed across the broadsides, with headlines that leave little room for doubt. Adulteress, whore, murderess. Only a year before, Lady Christian was newly married, living a life of privilege and respectability. So what led her to risk everything for an affair? And does that make her guilty of murder? She wasn't the only woman in Forrester's life, and certainly not the only one who might have had cause to wish him dead. Inspired by a real-life case, The Maiden is a remarkable story with a feminist revisionist twist, giving voice to women otherwise silenced by history, which just sounds fantastic, and it's gorgeous. It's very gorgeous, this edition, which is a book I've had on my little TBR for a while, and I thought, look forward to reading it this year. And sort of related is when there's the murder in the book, is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, which is a murder mystery with a time travel twist, and I love time travel books. I have a real soft spot for them, so I'm looking forward to this one. It's late. You're waiting up for your son. Then you spot him. He's with someone, and you can't believe what you see. Your funny, happy teenage boy stabs the stranger. You don't know who. You don't know why. You only know your son is charged with murder. His future is lost. That night you fall asleep in despair, but when you wake, it is yesterday, the day before the murder. Somewhere in the past lies the answer, a reason for this crime, and your only chance is to stop it. Ooh, a mystery in parts with a bit of time jumping. I think it goes back further as you're trying to figure out what went wrong, what caused the murder. And it sounds like an interesting premise, a bit of fun, and a nice little thing to get started. Next, and these were in no particular order, literally what I picked off my bookshelf. Learwife by J R Thorpe, inspired by Shakespeare's tragedy King Lear, and it centralises his wife, as you might guess, the POV of his wife, and sort of having a new interpretation of the story, which should be really fun to read. Word has come. King Lear is dead. His 3 daughters too, broken in battle. But someone has survived. Lear's queen. Though her grief and rage threatened to crack the earth open, she knows she must seek answers. Why was she exiled? What has happened to Kent, her oldest friend? And what will become of her now? Sounds like a good exploration of female power and almost what happens next. Another book I'm really looking forward to read this year is A Memory Called Empire. It's first in duology by, I'm probably going to butcher her name and I'm really sorry, but Arkady Martine. In a war of lies, she seeks truth. Ambassador Mahit Dzimaya travels to the Telexalani Empire's interstellar capital, eager to take up her new post. Yet, when she arrives, she discovers her predecessor was murdered. But no one will admit his death wasn't accidental, and she might be next. Now Mahit must navigate the capital's enticing yet deadly halls of power to discover dangerous truths. And while she hunts for the killer, Mahit must somehow prevent the rapturous empire from annexing her home, a small, fiercely independent mining station. As she sinks deeper into an alien culture that is all too seductive, Mahit engages in an intrigue of her own, for she is hiding an extraordinary technological secret, one that might destroy her station and its way of life, or it might save them all from annihilation. A tale of empire, intrigue, and rebellion with murder at its heart. which sounds dramatic, and I'm really looking forward to getting into. And next we come to The Warm Hand of Goats by Katherine Arden, which is a nice little historical fiction. I think it's set in World War One. We got it. I read it. In a world torn apart by war, a brother and sister fight to find each other. Love a little family dynamic. November 1917, Canadian soldier Freddie Ivan awakes after an explosion to find himself trapped under an overturned pillar box alongside an enemy soldier, a German. Against all odds, two men form a bond and succeed in clawing their way out. But once in no man's land, they realise there is nowhere they can go where they won't be shot as deserters. As the killing continues, they meet a man, a fiddler, who seems to have the power to make the hellscape that surrounds them disappear. But at what price? January 1918. Laura Ivan travels to the forbidden zone of World War I in Belgium. She has volunteered as a nurse at a private hospital, but her real reason for being there is to find her brother Freddie, who is missing. Soon after arriving, she hears whispers about ghosts moving amongst those still living, and a strange man known as the Fiddler, whose music offers soldiers a gift of oblivion. Could Freddie have met him too? And if so, where is he? I can't wait to find out. A novel of breathtaking scope and drama, of stunning research, lightly worn, The Warm Hand of Ghosts is a book that will speak to readers directly about the trauma of war and the power of those involved to love, endure and transcend it. Oh, we do love some love and human bond in the middle of tragedy and, well, trauma. With the other one there can't not be trauma. That human love which we adore and we're looking forward to seeing. Going for a bit of a modern classic. Wolf Hall by Hilary Martell. I do love Tudor history, so I'm very, very excited to go dive into, well, this interpretation of Thomas Cromwell's head and see what happens. You know, the broad strokes of the historical narrative. In Wolf Hall, one of our very best writers brings the opulent, brutal world of the Tudors to its bloody, glittering life, which is always fun to read into. It is the backdrop to the rise and fall of Thomas Cromwell, lowborn boy, charmer, bully, master of deadly intrigue, and finally, most powerful of Henry VIII's courtiers. Love seeing a new interpretation of the historical characters and what. And it just looks so much fun. So that's gonna be fun. Go and have a good reading yarn. And now we have Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill, an independently published book. I've read the prequel novella, which was good, about the fall of an organisation of dragon riders, which is a bit sort of Order 66 when they feel like they're betraying each other, almost an attack from within, and just, which, great setup. And this is like a bit later when the sort of the organisation's gone, and it's this epic fantasy. Born in fire, tempered in blood. Euphoria is a land divided by war and mistrust. The High Lords of the South squabble and fight, only kept in check by the Dragon Guard, traitors of a time long past, who serve the Empire of the North. In a remote village of the South, Euphoria, still reeling from the tragic loss of his brother, Cahill Briar prepares for the proving, a test of courage and skill that not all survive. But when three strangers arrive in the village of Milltown, with a secret they're willing to die for, Cahill's world is ripped from under him, and he's thrust headfirst into a war that has been raging for centuries. There is no prophecy. His coming was not foretold. He bleeds like any man, and bleed he will. Which, this, from the sound of this series, it just goes from strength to strength, and I'm really looking forward to having a look at it. We have another historical fiction, The Burial Plot by Elizabeth MacNeal, which is a gorgeous cover. Look at that, with absolutely spectacular sprayed edge there on the cover. We love it. Oh, London, 1839. With cemeteries full of money to be made in death, tricksters Crawford and Bonny survive on wicked schemes and ill-gotten coin. But one blistering evening their fortunes flip. A man lies in a pool of blood at Bonny's feet, and now she needs to disappear. Crawford secures her position as lady's maid in a grand house on the Thames. As Bonny comes to understand the family, the eccentric Mr. Moncrief, obsessively drawing mausoleums for his dead wife, and their peculiar daughter Cissy, scribbling imaginary love letters to herself, she begins to question what secrets are lying behind the house's paper-thin walls and whether her own presence here was planned from the beginning. Because Crawford is watching, and perhaps he is plotting his greatest trick yet. The Burial Plot is a spellbinding gothic thriller about murder, manipulation, and a young woman trying to wrestle power from the hands of a dangerous man. Ooh, plots and intrigue and discovering things. In like a dangerous situation sounds so intriguing. So that'd be a fun one. But yeah, we start a bit of a plot on it, I thought. Okay. And now we have a gorgeous edition of Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, which sounds like such a fun, if kind of violent, little fantasy book. Tear down a lover, rebuild the kingdom. Ooh, inspired by Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, which would be interesting. There's a fiery collision of power plays, spilled blood and romance amidst a set of deadly games. We do love the deadly games, starting with the Hunger Games and Sins. Every year, thousands flock to Sanir, the dangerous, dense capital twin cities of the Kingdom of Talon, where the palace hosts a set of deadly games. Those confident in their ability to jump between bodies can enter a fight to the death, with a chance to win unimaginable riches. Take life over imaginable riches, but they're good all on them. Princess Kala Tulumi, I think I'm butchering that, Tulimi, has been hiding for 5 years, ever since she murdered her parents to free the people of Talon from a tyrannical family. Only one person stands in her way of finishing the job, her reclusive uncle, King Kassa. However, she knows he always greets the victor of the games. If she wins, she finally get a chance to kill him. Enter Anton McAllister, whose childhood lovers lain in a coma since they were both ousted from the palace. He's deep in debt, trying to keep her alive, which means his last chance of saving her is entering the games and winning. When Anton proposes an unexpected alliance with Kala, they quickly find their partnership spiraling into something all-consuming. Before the games close, Kala must decide what she's playing for, her lover or her kingdom, for no matter what, the only one of them can walk out alive. A little romance in the middle of a drama and political intrigue. And now we have a history book, which I have been meaning to get to for years. The Silk Roads, A New History of the World by Peter Frankopan. I've read his book about The Earth Transformed, which is sort of about the environmental factors that have influenced history throughout, well, since the beginning of the Earth. It's got a big scope, that one, and that was really enjoyed it. Great read. So this one, for centuries, fame and fortune would be found in the West, in the new world of the Americas. Today, it is in the East which calls out to those in search of riches and adventure. Sweeping right across Central Asia and deep into China and India, a region that once took central stages again rising to dominate global politics, commerce and culture. A major reassessment of world history, the Silk Road is a dazzling exploration of the forces that have driven the rise and fall of empires, determined the flow of ideas and goods, and are now heralding a new dawn in international affairs. Which, again, a good little thick little history book, is a topic that I do love and would love to really just dive into. The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. This is another time travel included book, which I'm looking forward to. Joe Tournier is a British slave, one of thousands throughout the French Empire. He has a job, a wife, a baby, but he also has flashes of a life he cannot remember and a world that never existed, a world where English is spoken in England and not French. And now he has a postcard that has been held at the sorting office for 91 years. On the front is a Scottish lighthouse, on the back the words, "Dearest Joe, come home if you remember." Joe's searches for the truth will take him from the French-occupied London to a remote Scottish island and back through time itself as he battles for his life and for a very different future. With completely different situation with time travel and the ripples of different effects. That's going to be fun to read. This is one that I keep meaning to start, but I think it's because I think I'm going to love it, so I've just sort of been saving it. But I'm definitely going to read it this year. I've heard such good, read a lot of things about it. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, which I love a big book to go to sink into sometimes. Because a book needs to be as long as the story needs it to be, so let's enjoy it. An Assassin for the Rebellion. Revere's job is to complete orders and never get caught. When a rival bounty hunter shatters her world, Revere finds herself captured by the Guild of Nobles, a group of powerful fae. Crushed by the loss of his great love, Dragon Rider Khan Vegur took the head of a king and donned his melted crown. Now on a tireless quest to quell the never-ebbing ache in his chest, a clue lures him into the capital's high-security prison, where he stumbles upon the imprisoned Revere. Together they seek truth that threaten to unravel everything they know about their world. and each other. Love the sound of that. Best-selling sensation, When the Moon Hatched. Sometimes best-selling sensations are quite enticing to want to read and see what everyone's talking about. Will transport you to a world filled with magic, dragons, and love that blazes through the ages. And I do love a book with dragons in it, so that's another plus, which I'm going to enjoy. Now I have another little mystery book, The Birdcage Library by Freya Berry, which I also love a little shadow in the birdcage there, which is brilliant. Reader, The Man I Love Is Trying to Kill Me, which did really get my attention in the bookshop. To the reader with an inquisitive mind and a fearless disposition, you're invited to embark on a quest, a treasure hunt if you will, down a path only the brave dare tread. Within this book lies pages from a diary, ripped out and hidden by a woman in love, terrified for her life. Inside the diary she concealed a trail of clues all pointing to a faded tome, the Birdcage Library, found in her possessions after she disappeared. The clues, once solved, lead to the location of a secret so prized a man might go to any length to find it. What was the fate of the diary's owner, and what of the treasure she guarded so fiercely? Curious reader, can you unlock the mystery? Will you set her secret free? Which does sound a very enticing mystery to explore. Emily Blackwood, adventurous and plant hunter, travels north for a curious new commission. Like Sandra already. A gentleman has written to request she catalogue his vast collection of taxidermied creatures before sale. On arrival, Emily finds a ruined castle, its owner haunted by a woman who vanished years before, and when she discovers the ripped pages of a diary crammed into the wall, she realises dark secrets lie here, waiting to entrap her too. We've gone from past genre to future sci-fi. Frontier by Grace Curtis, a nice little book which I've heard good things about. In the distant future, climate change has reduced Earth to a hard scrabble wasteland. Saints and sinners, lawmakers and sheriffs, gunslingers and horse thieves abound. Folk are as diverse and divided as they've ever been, except in their shared suspicion when a stranger comes to town. One night, a ship falls from the sky, bringing the planet's first visitor in 300 years. She's armed, she's scared, and she's looking for someone. And love a little sci-fi. Love, loss, basically. It sounds like a lovely little human-driven story in a dystopian future, which sounds such a good read. I'm looking forward to all of these. The first in a trilogy, I'm going to try and aim for the trilogy, but we're definitely going to try and get the first one in this list. Three Body Problem by his name, I'm sorry if I am. Cixin Liu, translated from the Chinese by Ken Liu. It's a great little one. And so I've been looking forward to this one. This one's been on my list for a while. I've got a great edition now. 1967. Yi Wenji witnessed Red Guards beat her father to death during China's Cultural Revolution. This singular event will shape not only the rest of her life, but also the future of mankind. Oh, I love it when a little tragedy for one person has a massive effect and sort of you feel sort of the ripples of it. Love that expression of that. 4 decades later, Beijing police ask nanotech engineer Wang Mao to infiltrate a secret cabal of scientists after a spate of inexplicable suicides. Wang's investigation will lead him to a mysterious online game and immerse him in a virtual world ruled by the intractable and unpredictable interactions of its three sons. This is the three-body problem, and it's the key to everything. The key to a scientist's death, the key to a conspiracy that spans light years, and the key to an extinction-level threat to humanity. Now, faces. Now, we've got a little mythology retelling. Babylonia by Constanza Casti. Enjoyed her Clytemnestra, so it would be nice to see a little follow-up. This one is a mixture of mythology and historical fact to try and create a nice little story of this queen. There are whispers of her fame in a land long since turned to dust. The queen who rose from nothing and changed everything. Ancient Assyria, 9th century BC. An orphan is raised on the outskirts of a brutal empire. Heir to a tragic prophecy, Cimaris dreams of wielding power and escaping her destiny. Far away, a reluctant prince walks the corridors of his gilded palace in the city built by the gods. Ninus would rather spend his days in books and poetry than conquering a world of men. But when he meets Aeneas, a broken, beautiful warrior, something awakens in them both. And as they grow into young men, their friendship deepens into something fiercer still. That is until Cimaris arrives. A savage flood soon erupts between them all, even as a dark threat to the kingdom mounts. For Ninus and Aeneas, one of them will be called to make a devastating sacrifice. Cimaris, it will become impossible to distinguish between enemy and friend. and before long, all three will be forced to learn the lessons of the gods. In Babylonia, you must bend the world to your will. What doesn't bend, you break. I love it. I love mythology retelling and covering new mythologies as well, because I don't know too much about it. It does sound amazing. I look forward to bringing into that. A pretty pink book, Weyward by Emilia Hart, about 3 women in one family and sort of all the hardships they faced. 3 women, 5 centuries, one spellbinding story. In the present day, Kate flees a traumatic relationship to the Cumbrian cottage she inherited from her great aunt, but the cottage hides secrets of its own. In 1942, Violet rebels against her father's idea of a proper young lady until he takes matters into his own hands. In 1619, Alpha is on trial for witchcraft, implicated in the gruesome death of a local man. 3 women they try to cage, but wayward women belong to the wild, and they cannot be tamed. A little bit of thinking witches, because like men invented the word witch, we call ourselves wayward. This has been on my radar since a few months before it came out, so I've been looking forward to this one. And it'd be nice to actually get around to reading it this year. Hey, this has been on my bookshelf for a while, and I really keep meaning to get to, and I've heard really great things about this trilogy, and this book's supposed to be a strong start, and I'm just really looking forward to reading. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. So if I pictured that. In the market of 18th century Cairo, thieves, tricksters, con artists and outcasts eke out a living, swindling rich nobles and foreign invaders alike. But alongside this new world, the old stories linger, tales of jinn and spirits, of cities hidden among the swirling sands of a desert, full of enchantment, desire and riches, where magic pours down from every street, hanging in the air like dust. Many wish our lives could be filled with wonder, but not Hilary. She knows the trade she uses to get by are just tricks and sleight of hand. There's nothing magical about her. She only wishes one day to leave Cairo. But as the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. And let's see how that wish turns out this year and read it. I have another history book. This is Crypt, the third in Professor Alice Roberts' trilogy. And this is The Life, Death and Disease in the Middle Ages and Beyond. The other 2 are more prehistory and ancient history, so this brings it all up to one day. We can unlock secrets from bones preserved for centuries in tombs, graves and crypts. The history of the Middle Ages is typically the story of the rich and powerful. There's barely a written note for most people's lives. Archaeology represents another way of interrogating our history. By using cutting-edge science to examine human remains and burials, it is possible to unearth details about how individuals lived and died that gives us a new understanding of the past, one that is more intimate and inclusive than ever before. The 7 stories in Crypt are not comforting tales. We meet the patients at one of the earliest hospitals in England and the victims of the St. Brice Day massacre. We'll see a society struggling to make sense of disease, disability and death. As incurable epidemics sweep through medieval Europe, we learn of protracted battles between church and state that led to the murder of Thomas Becket and the destruction of the most famous tomb in England. And when we come face to face with the archers who went down with Henry VIII's favourite ship, the Mary Rose. Oh, I went to the Mary Rose not last year, the year before, and that was just amazing experience. Very much recommend. But yeah, it's very sad seeing the skeletons, and skeletons will hatch. The dog went down with the ship because they had the netting over it to stop them from being able to get out, and they had a superstition that learning to swim was bad luck on a ship, and that just makes a lot of it very tragic. Anyway, this is beautifully written and expertly researched by Professor Alice Roberts. Crypt is packed with thrilling scientific discoveries that challenge what we all thought we knew about history. And I always love that. And here we have The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, a book that I have been meaning to read for a while. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Lucy Foley, and I haven't actually read one of her books yet. I keep meaning to, and I'm going to do it this year. I'm sure I'm going to love it. In a beautiful old apartment block deep in the back streets of Paris, secrets are stirring behind every resident's door. The lonely wife, the party animal, the curtain twitcher, the secret lover, the watchful caretaker, the unwanted guest. There was murder here last night. Who holds the key to the mystery of apartment 3? That was a good one. And that's the last of the physical books I currently have. There are 2 books on my 25 for 2025 that I haven't bought yet. They're in the 2 series that I'm reading. One of them is Emily Wilde, and a compendium of lost tales, the third and final book in the Emily Wilde series, which I've the trilogy I've loved, and oh, I'm so looking forward to reading the end and seeing the end of their story. I have a big soft spot for epistolary books, which are written, you know, in diary form or something like that. I think started with Dracula, been going ever since. I love that form. And so with this one and a little sort of grumpy sunshine where it's just cute little moments in there, and all this whole folklore with a bit of academia in there. Nice, it's a gorgeous little mix, which is quite sweet. And I just love reading them. They're fun. Along with a former academic rival, now fiancé, the dashing and mercurial Wendell Bumblebee, who's, I love the name. Emily is immediately thrust into the deadly intrigue of fairy, as the two of them seize the throne of Wendell's long-lost kingdom, which Emily finds a beautiful nightmare filled with scholarly treasures. Emily has been obsessed with fairy stories her entire life. But at first she feels ill-suited to fairy, as she did in the mortal world. How could an unassuming scholar like her pass for a queen? Yet there was little time to settle Wendell's murderous stepmother's planned a deadly curse upon the land before vanishing without a trace. It will take all of Wendell's magic and Emily's knowledge of stories to unravel the mystery before they lose everything they hold dear. A little Saving the Kingdom story, which we love. I'm looking forward to it so much, and that's out soon. So that's one I'm looking forward to reading. And then we also have Marble Hall Murders by Anthony Horowitz, the third in the Susan Ryland series. I'm not entirely sure what the actual name of the series is, but I'm looking forward to it. He plays with the form of it so much, with murder mystery and having a book within a book. Do you have two murder mysteries for the price of one almost? And I love Atticus Pund so much. The fictional character in the fictional world. You get the 1950s classic golden age detective and a modern day editor who's edited this series of books, and now she's involved in then her solving crimes from that. Even though she's not a detective and she's not exactly going, yes, I want to be a detective. Susan Ryland has had enough of murder. She's edited 2 novels about the famous detective Atticus Pund, and both times she's come close to being killed. Now she's back in England and she's being persuaded to work on a third. The new continuation novel is by Elliot Crace, grandson of Miriam Crace, who was the biggest selling children's author in the world until her death exactly 20 years ago. Elliot believes Miriam was deliberately poisoned, and when he tells Susan that he has deliberately hidden the identity of Miriam's killer inside his book, Susan knows she's in trouble once again. As Susan works on Pund's last case, a story set in an exotic villa in the south of France, she uncovers more and more parallels between the past and the present, the fictional and the real world, until suddenly she finds that she's become a target herself. It seems that someone in Elliot's family doesn't want the book to be written, and they'll do anything to prevent it, which will be fun. Okay, and then we have 3 ebooks on this list. One, The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. I have already read about 20%, so I've made a start on this list already, which is quite good for me. It is based in Pompeii and about these women who are basically slaves sold into prostitution at the Wolf Den. You know Pompeii and Vesuvius is going to blow, and it's sort of looming over it as the cloud, like the ash is looming, so you know it's going to happen. And it's a trilogy. This is the first book in the trilogy, and it's so far it's good. Intriguing female character, this great vivid world of Pompeii, which but with the foreshadowing, it really has an emotional gut punch, which is awesome. Okay, so the Wolf Den very much encapsulates sisterhood in the dramatic situation, and sort of endurance and surviving these conditions in the ancient world, which isn't an ideal situation to be in, and it's very much the strength of these women and them finding joy in the little bits of life they can, and trying and sort of empowering themselves to find a way out of the situation. For the blurb we have, sold by her mother, enslaved in Pompeii's brothel, determined to survive, her name is Amara. Welcome to the Wolf Den. Amara was once a beloved daughter until her father's death plunged her family to penury. Now she's a slave in Pompeii's infamous brothel owned by a man she despises. Sharp, clever, and resourceful, Amara is forced to hide her talents. For now, her only value lies in the desire she can stir in others. But Amara's spirit is far from broken. By day, she walks the streets with the Wolf Den's other women, finding comfort in the laughter and dreams they share. For the streets of Pompeii are alive and of opportunity. Out here, even the lowest slave can secure a versatile fortune, and Mara has learnt that everything in the city has its price. But how much is her freedom going to cost her? Which sounds so brilliant. I'm really looking forward to finishing reading. Next, we have There by Tommy Orange, which is a book that's been on my TBR for a very long time, and I'm really looking forward to actually diving into and reading, and I'm going to do it this year. It's going to happen. It is set in this Native American community. Jackery Redfeather and his sister Opal grew up together, relying on each other during their unsettled childhood. As adults, they were driven apart, but Jackery is newly sober and trying to make it back to the family she left behind. That's why she's there. Deanie is there because he's been collecting stories to honour his uncle's death. Edwin is looking for his true father. Opal come to watch her boy Orville dance. All of them are connected by bonds they may not yet understand. All of them are there for cultural celebration that is the big Oakland powwow. But Tony Loneman is also there, and Tony has come to the powwow with darker intentions. Which sounds ominous, and I'm really looking forward to reading. It's December, I'm really looking forward to that one this year. The last on my list, 25 books of 2025, is The Anomaly by Hervé Leteller, translated from the French by Adriana Hunter. A science fiction book based in present day on Earth. No one knows how it happened, but it'll change their lives forever. During a terrifying storm, Air France Flight 006 inexplicably duplicates. For every passenger, and now two, are double with the same mind, body, and memories. Only one thing sets them apart. While one plane lands in March, the other doesn't arrive until June. Nothing can explain this unprecedented event, but for each duplicated passenger, an impossible moment of reckoning awaits. If there are two of you and just one life, who gets to live it? Which sounds so interesting. It's one I'm really looking forward to, a sort of exploration of humanity and how they react in this extreme situation, and it just sounds so good. But yes, that is my 25 books for 2025. Oh my god, that I would never be able to reach 25 books in a year. But my 25 books for 2025, and I can't wait for them. A nice little mix of different genres. We've got a good little mix there which should satisfy my mood reading tendencies this year. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you listening to me ramble about all these wonderful books I'm so looking forward to reading, and I've heard such good things. I have such high hopes for these guys. You can't let me down, guys. Not these books. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you've read any of them down below and see if you think any of them any good. But yeah, thanks for watching my first video. All the best, and bye-bye.